In this video, I'm going to talk about how to best answer questions around diversity, equality, and inclusion for the purpose of a job interview. And I believe as a Romanian who's managed many projects, both with individual contributors, but also as part of teams with people from extremely diverse backgrounds, I believe I can help you to best answer this, or at least give you some useful information. The first commonly asked questions around the DEI goals is what does DEI mean to you, and how do you make diversity, equality, and inclusion to work? Okay, so to me, DEI means working with diverse backgrounds, with diverse people, and with diverse ideas. Okay, and I believe the key to make this work is to always link this with business goals. And this, of course, means different things for different roles. If you're in charge of an organization, you link that with the success of your organization. If you're in charge of a project, you link that with success of those projects. And I believe also worthwhile mentioning is that not only tracking the success, but also the insuccess of such initiatives. In other words, diverse teams, if they work or they don't, and if they don't, why they won't work. Right? The second question I want to touch upon here is how do you approach understanding co-workers from different backgrounds? So this is again a quite common interview questions around diversity, equality, and inclusion. And I believe the best way to answer this would be to showcase your listening skills. Okay, so this is the single most important keyword, and I will leave it like this because I'm going to give you a concise example as we move on. Another question could be, can you provide an example of a time when you successfully contributed to create a more inclusive work environment? Or similarly, talk about an instance where you advocated for diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So in an outsourced work environment, or in a remote work environment by today's standards, it is not sufficient to have frequent communication, even regular updates, but in my experience, it's imperative that you meet the other people face to face, okay, to get a real idea, a real feeling of how this project evolves and to contribute in an essential way to its success. And in one instance, again, I was managing a team of people from diverse backgrounds, and we had a developer. He was a Muslim in a team of primarily Hindus. And what happened is, it was not up until I visited that team on site that had one-on-ones with every member of the team that I realized that the Muslim, the software developer, was actually one of the most talented people there, and he was actually doing everything in his power, even doing other people's work just for the success of the team. And maybe at times his contribution was not sufficiently communicated to me. So what I did was actually to encourage him to report directly to me and have regular discussions every now and then with the goal to make him feel more equal, and to, if I may call it like so, to balance that team's dynamic. Okay, and by empowering him to perform as part of that team and with his team, of course, I believe it was a hugely successful operation because we worked together for more than 5 years with him and with some other members of his team for as long as 7 years. Simply because, we took diversity, equality, and inclusion as a serious goal in our environment, as a performance indicator, to be specific. So on one hand, notice here how listening skills paid off, because I went there on site and did everything I could to actually listen to what they had to say, because otherwise I would have had no chance of finding this challenge. And the second one, linking this to a business outcome. If a team that won't work, you won't work with those people for 5 years or 7 years in some cases there, right? And finally, maybe a not so common scenario would be to an interview question, something on the lines of a time when you had failed some DEI goals as part of a team, as part of the organization. And here, my best example was in a previous venture, an HR software business I started with the business partner. which actually failed to gain traction after a number of years. Okay, so it was an HR software, but one of the key reasons why I believe it failed it's because, in the same way, it's important to consider diversity, equality, and inclusion in dealing with people you work with every day as people you're leading. It's the same, if not even more important, to consider diversity, equality, and inclusion goals in managing up. That is with my business partner. So had I pushed for a more, for us to take into account a more diverse stream of ideas, and at some point to make everyone feel more equally important in contributing to the success of the organization, I believe it would have had a decisive impact in the success of our business, right? So there you go. This would be my top scenarios of interview questions around diversity, equality, and inclusion, and with some hopefully interesting pointers for you to consider. But all in all, the way you'd go about answering such questions is to be as specific as possible. And I believe there are two elements you should take into account here. First of all, you should eliminate the risk of hearing the questions for the first time. And I believe I covered the major scenarios here. And the second avenue you must consider is to not just give an answer, which is often ambiguous, but a specific answer in which you have a clear pitch, right? Either you pitch listening skills, either you pitch linking them to business goals, but you must be communicating on something that was your strength, that you believe was key to the success of your example. So again, I hope you found this useful, and thank you very much for watching.